All right, let's dive in. If you're starting a business in Singapore, one of the very first and honestly most important decisions you'll make is picking the right legal structure. So, let's get you set up for success.
You really got to think of this as the foundation of your house. Get it wrong, and things can get shaky later on. The structure you choose, it's going to affect everything. Your personal risk, your taxes, your ability to get funding and grow. It's step one on this whole crazy entrepreneurial journey, so let's make sure we nail it.
So, let's start with the most straightforward one, the simplest way to get up and running. If you're flying solo, maybe you're a freelancer, a consultant, or just testing an idea, this is probably the first thing you'll look at.
Now, the beauty of this is just how simple it is. With a sole proprietorship, in the eyes of the law, there's no difference between you and your business. You're one and the same. All the profits, they're yours. But, and listen up, because this is a huge but, so are all the debts.
And that brings us to this critical concept, unlimited liability. What does that actually mean? It means if your business owes money and can't pay, creditors can come after your personal stuff. We're talking your car, your personal savings, even your home. It's the ultimate trade-off, right? You get maximum simplicity, but you also take on maximum personal risk.
Okay, but what happens when you're not going it alone anymore? You find that perfect co-founder, someone to share the load and the vision with. Well, that's when you enter the world of partnerships. In a standard general partnership, which can have anywhere from 2 to 20 people, you are all in it together. You share the work, you share the profits, and just like with the sole proprietorship, you share all the liability. And this is where the risk just explodes, because every single partner is on the hook for the entire debt of the business, not just their little piece. This happens all the time, right? You've got someone who totally believes in what you're doing. They want to put in some cash to help you grow, but they have no interest in the day-to-day grind, and they definitely don't want to take on that massive risk. So what are your options?
And that's where the limited partnership, or LP, comes in. It's a really clever setup that creates two different kinds of partners. You have the general partners, they're the ones running the show, making decisions, and yep, they still have that scary unlimited liability. But then you have the limited partners. Think of them as passive investors. They can't get involved in management, but in exchange, their risk is capped. They can only lose what they put in. It's a fantastic way to bring in that silent money.
As your business starts to get bigger, that idea of unlimited liability, especially for the active partners, it starts to feel pretty terrifying. So the next step on our journey is finding a way to build a protective wall between the business's problems and your personal life. Just picture this. Your partner makes a really bad call, a huge mistake, and the business gets hit with a massive lawsuit. In a general partnership, your personal savings, your house, it's all on the line to pay for their error. There just had to be a better way for partners to protect themselves from each other's actions. And here it is. The solution is this powerful concept called a separate legal personality. Honestly, this is a total game changer. It means the business becomes its own legal person, totally separate from the owners. It's like putting up a legal shield. The business can now own things, sign contracts, and crucially, its debts are its own debts, not yours.
The structure that brings this idea to life is the Limited Liability Partnership, or LLP. It gives you the best of both worlds, the flexibility of a partnership, but with that all-important legal shield. The LLP itself is responsible for its debts. That's why it's so popular for professionals like lawyers, accountants, or architects. They can work together, but they're not personally on the hook if another partner messes up.
All right, now we're getting into the big leagues. This is the most formal, the most robust structure. This is the path you take when you have huge ambitions. You want to scale up, hire a big team, and most importantly, you want to raise serious money from outside investors like VCs.
So companies also have that separate legal personality, but their ownership is based on shares. The main thing you got to know here is the difference between private and public. A private company is what most startups are. It's closely held, can have up to 50 shareholders, and you can't just sell shares to anyone on the street. A public company, on the other hand, can have tons of shareholders and can raise money on a stock exchange, but it comes with a whole lot more rules and regulations.
Hey, here's a really useful tip for anyone starting a private company. If you qualify as a small company, and to do that you just have to meet 2 of these 3 conditions, you might not have to go through a full statutory audit every year. What's that mean for you? It means saving a ton of time, money, and paperwork, which is a massive win for any lean growing business.
Okay, before we pull everything together, there's one more specialized structure I want to mention. You might not use it yourself, but you'll definitely see it out there, especially in the world of big-time investments. The best way to think about a business trust is not as a company, but more like a deal, an arrangement. You have a trustee manager who operates the business, and all the profits go to the investors, who are called beneficiaries. Now, while it's not a separate legal entity on its own, a registered business trust can still offer that limited liability to its investors. If you've ever heard of a REIT, a real estate investment trust, that's a perfect example of this in action.
Whew. Okay, we've gone from a one-person shop all the way to a massive corporation. So, how on earth do you pick the right one for you? Let's bring it all home and make it simple.
Look, this table is pretty much the key takeaway of this whole thing. Just focus on those two columns, legal status and owner liability. See that jump? The second you move from not separate to separate entity, your liability goes from unlimited down to limited. That right there, that's the fundamental choice you're making. Are you going for simplicity now, or are you building for protection and growth later?
So, when it all boils down, here's what you really need to remember. There is no single best option. It just doesn't exist. The right choice is all about your goals. It's a balancing act. On one side, you've got the super easy, total control of being a sole proprietor, and on the other, you've got the legal armor and massive growth potential of a company.
So, I'll leave you with this question as you start mapping things out. What's your real ambition here? What's your tolerance for risk? And what kind of foundation do you need to build today to make that dream a reality tomorrow? I hope this has helped you figure out that very first crucial step. Good luck out there.